Oh, good evening, 4,000 and counting fans. I'm just going to let the stream build up. We know this is basically just a ram, bam, thank you, ma'am, get on. And there was no announcements. It wasn't a planned live stream. It is a live stream coming on the back of the news that, excuse me. I'm just letting this come in now. There's only one person watching. We'll let a few more of you join in before we start actually hammering this. Obviously, I'm Watty. Forgotten the intro. This is producer Graham. You might some of you Northerners might recognise him from the Blackburn Hawks YouTube and social media accounts and stuff like that, but obviously now working with 4,000 and counting, and has been for some time since old Claire Balding left to be a rock star. And we're very, very grateful for Claire, and we are very grateful that Graham's now stepped in. You might be seeing a little bit more of Graham jumping on camera every now and again. Right, where to start with this? This one hurts, guys. This one hurts a lot. And Graham will tell you it's a little bit different for him. But being involved with Blackburn, you're not neutral. You want Blackburn to win, obviously. You go on a Saturday, you want them to win. Now, I go to Basingstoke every Saturday. I couldn't give a shit if they win. But they're still my team. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been doing this for so long now. And because I've played for Swindon, I've played for Slough, I've played for Peterborough, I've played for other teams as well as Basingstoke. I was a one club man as a junior, all the way through from hockey basics into the elite league. There you go. There's 37 of you watching. That's it. Just keep spreading this. We're going to get into this a little bit, but it's always a team that I look out for. It's always a team that I semi-root for. I'd always like to remain as a neutral as I can. But the news as it stands, I'm going to read you. I know there's been some issues getting onto the Bison website and reading the statements, etc. I'm just going to try and give you a rundown of what it says. Shout out to my boy Ant Russell, Mr. Banners on the wall. He's got to be fucking hurting more than anybody right now. It's terrible, terrible news. We were hoping that this day wasn't going to come. I'm going to give some thoughts on Planet Ice in a second, but before I do that, bear with me when I try and read this to you guys. Here we go. Planet Ice today have confirmed that Basingstoke Bison will not be competing in the 23-24 season. The plan will be to put together a team to compete in the 24-25 season, given that works are required at the rink. Chief Operations Officer Heath Rhodes commented, given the work that needs to be done at the rink, it seems to make sense to skip next season for the Bison. Whilst the legals with Basingstoke and Dean Council, regarding the future of the rink are ongoing, we are confident of a conclusion, and until then, it would be business as usual for our other users, including junior activity, Buffalo, Patch, Learn to Skate, public skating, and birthday parties. Basingstoke Bison director John Neville commented, it's disappointing, understandable and inevitable that the Bison organisation has been informed by Planet Ice that we won't be icing a team until in the 2023-2024 season. Our facility needs much needed repairs, and we will work collectively with Planet Ice to ensure that we have a facility we can all be proud of in the 24-25 season. John continued, I would like to thank our players, staff, coaches, and volunteers for the tremendous support they have given me over the last few years in a very trying working circumstance, and that all the Bison would like to thank our loyal fans for the tremendous support they have given the players week in, week out. Rest assured, we will be back in September 2024, bigger and better. What's your first reaction to that, mate?
It's sad. We're trying to grow the game, and you're losing a team out of the National League, which is already crying out for another team.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah. I mean, Casey Gallagher's commented saying the chance of Solway moving up is slimmer now, and they're right.
It depends which way the National go to take it. Do they go, okay, well, we had uneven teams, we were going to bring Solway up to make it 12, Bison goes out, we leave it at 10? Or do they go, well, we had 11, we've lost Bison, let's replace them and bring Solway? I I don't really want to go too much into the Solway thing because this is about Basingstoke, but that is definitely something that's going to be talked about. Almost 100 of you watching, guys, so thanks for joining. I'm sure many of you will be as gutted as I am, especially Basingstoke fans and the community as a whole. And they've put up with a lot of shit of that rink being crap, but still turned up week in, week out, put their hand in their pocket, bought their season tickets, bought their jerseys, turn up, buy their pints, buy hot dogs, etc. I'm absolutely gutted. I wish Planet Ice had announced this sooner. They've fucking known about this. There's not a chance. Obviously, I was talking to John at different stages throughout the season, kind of waiting on updates and trying to get updates. And it just never seemed to come. It never seemed to come in terms of, right, this is what's going to happen on this date, and we're going to do X plan, and this is the amount of capital that's getting invested. This is how long it's going to be shut for. This is where we think we should start the work. And I'm surprised that it's taken this long. I'm also surprised that we haven't seen Basingstoke maybe do a Bristol and play out of somewhere else, whether that would have been Solent and Gosport, or actually maybe Bristol itself being a Planet Ice rink, both being Planet Ice rinks. I don't know what the guys are going to do. There's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be looking for jobs now. Undoubtedly, the Bees are going to get stronger next year. Bristol are going to get stronger next year. I mean, if I'm Swindon, I'm trying to snap the arm off of George Norcliffe and bring a guy like that into my roster. I don't know. It's so fucking shit. I'm really disappointed. I'm disappointed that it's been allowed to get to this stage.
Yeah.
I mean, my last season was 2014, playing for Guildford. So what we're talking, almost 9 years ago now, and work needed done to Basingstoke then.
Yeah.
And nothing seemed to come. And
you talked about it before. Yeah.
I've talked about it before. Guys and girls, as I said, there's lots of you watching in, so please do get your comments. Let us know your thoughts. If you've got any questions, please do ask. We will try and do our best to kind of relay some information. It's brand new information to us. I've got a feel for John Neville as well. He's travelled up and down the country. It's not like he lives in Basingstoke and is running it. He's travelling down there to put a team on the ice. Guys like Metham bought houses in Basingstoke and things like that. We could be forcing retirement on some players.
That's true. That's a valid point.
We really could be forcing retirement on guys like maybe Metham, who were like, okay, maybe I'll do one more year, or I can do an extra couple of years because it's in Basingstoke and I don't have to travel. Does he then want to continue his career and move on elsewhere? Just using him as an example. What about the youth lads that we've had actually get an opportunity this year? So Ollie Hemmings-Mayer, Roman Cathcart, Jack Peacock, I'm sure I'm missing some, Travis Penny. There's young guys that are on those rosters. I know they're on a couple of them are on 2 ways with Slough, on 2 ways with Solent, but they were actually starting to become established National League players. Do another club take a gamble on those lads, or do they not bother because they have their own juniors coming up?
That's very true.
How do you see it, mate?
It's a difficult one, really. There's a good question here, actually. Do they think the rink will be ready for September 2024?
Sorry, I just clicked my camera off there for some reason. From their statement, they said they think it will be ready. Now, they couldn't even get a press release ready before the 4th of April. Bearing in mind, we're literally just going into the playoff weekend. I mean, what a distraction for the Bison players leading into this weekend.
Yeah, massive, yeah.
I'm not sure how much information those boys had leading into the weekend or leading into the last week. But I had one of their players come up and ask me if I knew anything last week. So that would lead me to believe would lead me to believe that they potentially didn't know. And yeah, man, it's so shit. What other teams have we lost over the years that you can think of? Obviously, we've had Newcastle Vipers, they disappeared. well, we had about 8 renditions of Newcastle disappear. We've lost the Isle of Wight Raiders. So there's just teams that we've lost. And to lose Basingstoke as a club down south is brutal. We've always been there. It's been, I think the rink opened in 86, and they've had a team in the top or the second flight ever since. And to now not have that, it's criminal.
How long have these sort of renovations been needed for, though? Like, how long could this have been prevented?
Oh, sorry. I don't know why it switched.
Of course it could have been, but like to get to this point.
How long has it been needed to renovate?
Yeah, in your opinion.
Gee. Well, like I said, it needed work doing in 2014 when I last played as a player. And if anybody's listened to the podcast before, I'm sure you would have heard me mention after my ban in, well, I think it was like 2015 by the time it all came out and it was all said and done, I kind of stayed away from the ice rink and ice rinks in general for a good, say, 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
I started to get into it a little bit in 2018 again, prior to us starting the podcast in 2019. And obviously since I've done the podcast, I've been pretty much as regular as I can be. I mean, I can't thank John Neville enough for making sure we had like media accreditation every week that we could come and watch the games and report back on this. They've been very good for 4,000 and counting. They couldn't do enough. They helped us out the first year that we did a charity game. Obviously, I had some things to say about Planet Ice after last year, getting charged like £1,200 for a swimming pool for ice when it had previously been donated and stuff like that. That kind of upset me a little bit. I mean, they wasn't charging me. Like, the money wasn't coming out of my pocket. It was coming out of the charity's pocket. And it was just like, they've done things over the years where they like try to put a plaster on a fucking broken femur.
Yeah.
It was never going to work. They've done very well to keep the pad going to get to as far as we got, to get to the end of this season. Yeah. But I think deep down, the speculation is that we probably knew this day was coming, but why we didn't address it in such a way that, okay, we know this is coming. Let's say in December, right, okay, we're going to shut at the end of the season. Gives all the guys time to sort their deals out and sort their jobs out. We talk about the National League all the time. Guys work, they have careers. You know, some are bankers, some dig holes, some fucking serve burgers, some whatever it may be.
Do what you got to do, yeah.
It might have made, let's say, and I'll use George Norcliffe for an example, and I'll use Swindon for an example because I've already used that. Let's say Swindon go through that shit patch in December or whatever it was, and before the deadline, they go, right, we're going to make George Norcliffe an offer. George could have, most likely would have turned it down. He's Bison captain. I'm sure he probably would have. But if he knew that there was no rink for next season, maybe Aaron goes, right, come and finish this year and we'll give you a deal for next year. All of a sudden, his future is taken care of and he can make good decisions. And again, without giving John too many like hand jobs here, he even said to me, he goes, Watty, it's not fair on the boys because I can't tell them anything because I don't know. So in terms of taking like deals for next year, because I said to him, I was like, mate, they need to make an announcement soon because guys will go elsewhere and they'll be wondering and talking, you know, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday practice. You not think the boys are going, right, that bit of the boards is getting worse. That stand's moving a little bit, whatever it may be, just talking about the rink in general and going, right, okay, we're not going to have a team next year. We need to think about what we're going to do. And we need to pull together for these fans. Basingstoke have not a large number, but a good number of disabled fans. Kev went, you would have seen him in his wheelchair wheeling around at the end of the game and When I played in Basingstoke, he used to come in for a little pre-game. He'd be like, "Fucking get into these boys, fuck them." Rah, rah, rah. He'd give us a little speech. Kev's been there. Bearing in mind, I've been watching hockey in Basingstoke or playing hockey in Basingstoke since '92. Kev has been there every step of the way. A Downs lad named Martin, again, him and his family have probably been coming since the fucking early '90s. And these are the people that I feel for in this situation, because chances are they're not part of many other communities.
Yeah.
But they were always welcome in with open arms. I mean, I was at the game. Who did I run down to see? I'm just trying to think. So I missed last week's game. I was there the week before, and I went round to talk to like the away team, to catch up some friends. And I'm walking back round, and Kev's like, "Watty, Watty," and he still talked to me like I'm a Bison player. Yeah, he'll still talk to me. "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?" And for these guys and girls, it's such a big part of their life, and I kind of feel sad for them. Also, for the people that have been season ticket holders for, again, I go back, I keep saying 30 years. I see some of those faces at the rink that I have seen since I was 6 years old.
I'm not too familiar with like teams at that end of the country. So what sort of numbers are you talking in, week out?
Okay, so here's a prime example. Let's go to probably when I was like an actual fan of the Bison and fucking loved it, and got excited. My mum and dad would be like, "We're going to the game tonight," and you'd be buzzing. So 95, 96, 97, believe like the Super League era, I would have to do my due diligence on elite prospects. But let's have a look for argument's sake. I think it was then, and it was back before the days of the giant plexi that we have now, that's fucking 10 feet up or whatever. It was the 6 feet plexi, yeah? And it was bendy plexi. You could like if the two guys were having a fight on the ice, you could like reach over and like take their fucking helmet off. But it was packed, and it would be 3 deep at the glass of standing. And then you have the side of the rink that the benches are on, which is the side that's open now. They'd be packed. And then opposite the benches on the penalty box side, on the left-hand side of the penalty box, would notoriously be the away fans. So back in the day, like you're playing against Sheffield Steelers, they brought like 3 coaches down to the games. Yeah. Cardiff Devils, they travelled well. And then going on into like the BNL era, Guildford would fucking pack that place. Bracknell would pack that place. Slough would pack that place. And then on the opposite side of that, so opposite the home team bench and the other elevated stands, that would be pretty busy. So you were probably talking anywhere between, in the Elite League, not in the Elite League, sorry, in the Super League days, probably a couple of thou. It was very good. And then in the BNL, again, good numbers. In the EPL, when I was there, and Joe Greener and Kurt and Seski and fucking God knows how many other boys, numbers again, probably like 12, 1,300. But then they condemned that side of the building that I was talking about, the away side.
Yeah.
So instantly, not only do you lose the 2 seating blocks at the back, like I said, there was 3 deep at the glass at stages, and in my time at Basingstoke, sometimes even 4. Like if we was playing Bracknell, you might get 4 deep at the glass. Now you work that out in an Olympic size ice rink, how many hundreds of people that is squeezed down the side or round the plexi. It used to be such a vibe, and I've maintained this as well. If they were to put, say, like an MK like facility, quality, that sort of level of facility in Basingstoke, the people of Basingstoke will come out and watch. We have fucking nothing here. Our football team are, I don't know, maybe the 8th division of UK football, something like that, maybe 9th. Nothing spectacular, not setting the world alight. We've demolished our football ground to build houses. That's gone. We've now lost our ice rink. That's gone. Where the fuck? And obviously we've been very, very focused on the Bison right now. They have said until a later date that, the Buffalo and the juniors and the patron, etc. Well, let's try and phrase this right. If you're a good player and you're a junior right now, let's say you're 13 years old, you're Basingstoke under 14's best player.
Yeah.
You now have no aspiration to get into the Bison because they're not there. You're not getting to see them every week. Perhaps you start going to watch Guildford in the Elite League because it's then, I mean, we just talked off air.
Yeah.
I said, I was guessing I'm going to be watching a lot of Guildford Flames next year.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's going to be the closest team for me to watch any sort of hockey. And it's also going to be the case for the kids. No Bracknell. So we've lost Bracknell. No Bracknell junior development. Now, no Basingstoke. I imagine if they're shutting it, there's going to be no Basingstoke junior development. We're going to lose a bunch of kids. My issue is, where do the kids that are around my area, where do they get to go and do sport? Because obviously we've got very good rugby facilities and we've got good grass hockey facilities. But in terms of like top sports, what I would class top sports in Basingstoke, and it's always been the top way, it was always Basingstoke Bison and it was always Basingstoke Town Football Club. And the fact that this has happened to both the clubs in our town is not only a kick in the dick from Planet Ice on the ice hockey side of things, but they had some challenges along the way from Basingstoke and Dean Council. And I'm not sure if any of you wankers from Basingstoke and Dean Council were to ever watch this, but let me just look down the camera. Go and fuck yourself, you scumbags. You have sat on your ass, twiddled your thumbs for 5 years. It only ever comes up around about election time that the councillors start feigning interest when they're looking for votes and they're looking for their seat. They couldn't give two shits. I think they made a mistake initially giving the ice rink to Planet Ice back when it was Civic Leisure Days. And this might be me misremembering. It might be the fact that the rink during so when I started, the rink was 6 years old at that stage. So still technically in the UK like a new rink. By the time I'd got through and got to the Bison, the 16 years old, that rink, still in all right enough nick. You know, it got to the stage where sometimes you couldn't turn the house lights off. Do you know, like when you skate out with a fucking spotlight, like the spotlight over, you know, it got to a stage where you couldn't turn the house lights off because the game that was supposed to start at 6:30 couldn't start until 6:45 because the lights would have to warm back up and stuff. But as a rule, though, the boards were fine. The ice was fine. The stands were fine. You could put a couple of thousand people in there. Do you know that Basingstoke have not been able to advertise in the local town for maybe when did that get condemned? After the first, I might be getting this wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments. It might have been after the first season of that, and when the EPL folded, it went to the league that Streatham stepped up into, etc. They haven't been able to advertise because you don't want to turn people away to say, yo, imagine you put into Basingstoke Leisure Park, Graham. I know this doesn't mean nothing to you because you're not really from here. So in our leisure park, we have the Aquadrome, which is a swimming facility with slides and all that. That's fucking falling apart as well. They've just spent loads of money trying to redo that. You've got a bowling alley. You've got a McDonald's. You've got KFC, lawn green bowling. What else is on there? A museum. So the footfall and traffic of where it is very good. So if you were just to nip down to the bowling alley, let's say you've got 2,500 seats to sell, you can nip down to the bowling alley, posters up, you can nip into the Aquadrome. The boys had a gym deal in there. So the people from the gym would go, oh, you Bison boys? Yeah, we'll come and check out a game. They couldn't even do anything like that because of the fear of losing these people. Even I'm trying to explain it. So imagine the first time that you've took your nipper to go to bowling and then you see there's a game on and you think, oh, okay, well, next Saturday, let's take little Johnny and we're gonna go up and we're gonna play a bit of bowling at lunchtime and then we're going to watch the Bison game. To get told, no, sorry, we've got no seats, we're sold out. chances are you're never going to take that kid again, because that experience for you has been a bad experience. So John and the Bison tried to negate that by not advertising, so that they weren't turning people away, and they were still having enough seats for their regulars. And like I said, the 30-year-old season ticket holders and stuff like that have been at it, they could all get their spots. And, they turned over. Some crowds this year have been capacity for what a capacity is.
Yeah.
But there's a reason Bison finished 8th this year, and that is because they don't have the budget, due to the fact that they can only sell, let's say for argument's sake, 60% of the rink. That's a chunk of your budget gone straight off the bat.
Massive chunk of it, isn't it, really?
And when it comes to recruitment, like I joke with John and a few of the Bison boys all the time. I've said it on here. Everybody asked me if I wanted to come back to play when my ban was over. I've ummed and ahed a couple of times, but it's never been anything more than like I'm 10% sure that I want to do it. Do you know what I mean? I've always said that I want to coach. It was something that I was passionate about. I've done it since I was 14. And I was always joke with John when the Bison have a few good results. I'm like, when am I sending my CV in and all that? But like having a serious conversation about it, I was like, there is no amount of money in this world that you could pay me to walk into that ice rink the way it is right now, 4 nights a week, and be away from my family in that shithole. How do you recruit that? So if I don't know, let's say Lewis Hook wants to leave Belfast next year. He's never going to step down, but we're just like a hypothetical.
Yeah.
And there's 3 teams on the table offering him £500, £500, and he's getting a 1-bedroom flat on his own, nice flat. And the options are, I don't know, Leeds, Basingstoke, and MK. Straight away, he's going to put a cross through Basingstoke just sheer to the rink.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the coach, nothing to do with the staff. When you've got to be at a rink, you got to think what you guys think, the boys train an hour, right? So let's say you train an hour, 8 till 9 on a Thursday. You're going to be there an hour before just to get ready. If there's any sort of meetings or any sort of video or any sort of gym sessions, depending on like what your setup is, you're probably there from 6:30. Now you get off the ice at 9. You might have to run through a couple of things. You have a little stretch. You shoot the shit with the boys. You maybe have a beer or whatever it is. You're looking at 10 o'clock getting out that rink. So you've been in that rink for 4 hours. It's not the Odyssey, is it? It's not sitting in the SSE over in Belfast where, everything's mustard. It's shit. Nick Chapman, that's the fucker's name, Nick. Well done. Councillor John is to blame for all of this, total wanker. Now, he's not to blame for all of this. And don't get me wrong, he's got a lot to answer for, but there's been a lack of looking after that facility for a very long time. And I'm just talking even down to like sticking a lick of paint on the fucking goals or making sure the lines are visible. I know the Basingstoke we're getting bitched out. Shout out to all of you guys that are watching. 117, that's the most we've had on here in quite a long time. While we've got you, I know a few of you have been to previous charity games. I just want to let you know, Saturday the 5th of August in Slough, we have our charity game kicking off at 5 p.m. We're going to be raising money for motor neurons disease, as well as another charity, which we're going to be announcing in due course. So I hope to see many of you at that. Where do Basingstoke go as a club to make sure that they are back in 2024 in September? It's only, it seems like a long away, but how quick is this? We were talking about it the other day, Graham. How quick is this season gone? It's just really like fast. Been and gone. Fast. So how do they make sure that they're going to be back, and not only back to the competitive nature that we have known Basingstoke to be over the years? When they had guys like Joe Greener leading them to trophies, Aaron Connolly leading them to trophies. How do they get back to that kind of standard and make sure that when they do go back, they can attract these people back into the rink?
That's a difficult question because there's no guarantee for a start that the rink will be ready for that time.
Yeah, this is true.
And how do you keep guys interested in coming back? Because people are going to want to go and play elsewhere. Like your South one will get very strong. There'll be players that move down.
Okay, so
how do you keep the momentum of that? Do you know what I mean? How do you keep players interested? Because the difference between the standards is massive, but also like the sort of it's more intense in the National League, isn't it? So you play more games, that kind of thing. So people get used to having more nights off, more days off, spend more time with friends and family. How do you then attract them to come back that have dropped down? It's a tough question to answer.
Well, I think we've seen from like the guys that stepped down and went to Streatham, use them for an example. So who's stepped down over the years? Obviously, my brother stepped down, Antonov stepped down, Painter stepped down, Dingle stepped down. That's enough. That's enough of a list to give you an idea. None of them have stepped back up.
It's a valid point.
They've not stepped back up. They've gone down and gone, oh, well, when I was doing my whole EPL thing, ENL, whatever it was, then I didn't have kids. I wasn't married. I was working part-time, or my career was at the apprentice stage or whatever it may be. Whereas now they might be going, well, I'm married. I've got a kid. Especially if you've got like an older kid. I'm looking at that Streatham roster and you've got like Tommy Annette's. His kids are now playing. So for you to only have to commit to one game a weekend, sometimes no games a weekend, and you can take little Johnny to go to his conference training or to fucking England showcase, and you can actually be there and you're not missing it. It becomes, what's the right word? It becomes, can't think of the right word, but I'll say sought after. It becomes sought after. You go, well, I can make pretty similar money to what I was making in the National League. And some of these guys that will step down will end up making more playing NIHL 1 than they would playing in the National League, purely on the basis that their role changes. So if you're, say, a third line, fourth line guy in Basingstoke that might put up 12 points on a more defensive role, limited role, versus you're now going to be potentially a top two line player, your point production is going to go from 12 points to 30, 40 points, maybe more. Prime example would be, we spoke about in a roundup. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's on our YouTube now. Make sure you subscribe. We talked about Matty Hayward. Now, Matt Hayward's a fucking exceptional player. He was at Glasgow Clan for 10 years.
Very good.
Very good on the face-off, very good on the penalty kill, very good defensively. In the Elite League, you know, I think maybe let's have a look, his max kind of points, 40, 50 points one year maybe, but generally used more in that shutdown role. He's gone to Leeds this year. He has 107 points. So it goes to show, like, when guys do step down leagues, they get to play a little bit more freely than perhaps they would if they were to stick in that role. Now, if you've been like, I don't know, let me give you an example. Paul Petts in Basingstoke. He's a good player. He's a good player. He's a good lad. Just had a baby. Is what I would call a team guy for Basingstoke. They're not going to take off like Aidan Doughty or Norks and put him on the PP. His chances of getting any sort of PP regular minutes are very limited. But let's say he steps down and joins Solent, for example. I guarantee they fucking run 80% of the things through him next year. And then when it comes back to that 24-25 season, and you've had the year with the family playing 28 games instead of 54 games, you know, your furthest trips in Victor away or Peterborough away instead of Hull, Leeds, Sheffield. How do you get those guys back? And how do a club like Basingstoke, who are literally going to lose all their junior players, how do they roster fill at the national level? Because what I would class roster filling at the national level, you don't have houses for everybody, right? So you're not going to bring in a third or fourth line, like let's say Floyd Taylor from Swindon. You're not going to bring Floydie into Basingstoke, because you're going to have to pay him travel, or you're going to have to house him. You're not going to house a guy like that. So you need your Ryan Suttons, You need your Paul Petts. You need your Hallam Wilsons that are local, that live local, that can compete and do a job at that level in order to maintain a strong roster. I think we've seen it with Hull this year. They stepped into that league. Yeah. Where are they supposed to? Matty's done like exceptional getting guys from left, right, and centre. But you give it a couple of years of Hull being right back in the mix, and all of a sudden some juniors come through and they go through the Jets, and there starts to be a pathway. But they were thin on the ground at the start of this year. Wouldn't you agree?
Massively. They had a couple of players from the Storm that iced for him. I think Finley Ulrich, Jacob Lutwich from Blackburn played for him. Yeah. But they were waiting for their imports for a long time, weren't they? There was some issue there.
I felt so bad for them because when you look at that team that Hull announced, and they were doing easy for me to say, doing so over the summer, they kick it off. They go, right, we've got 2 elite league goalies. You're like, okay. Granted, they're backups with not a lot of experience, but they've been facing good shots in practice. They've been playing with good import goalies. They've been learning the ropes. That's a good start. You then go, right, we got Matty Davis. Now, a fit Matty in that league runs Kieran Brown close for that scoring title, by the way. And I'm sure a lot of you that are watching, still well over 100 of you, shout out to you guys and girls that are watching, Matty would have run him very close. Thamar, for me, granted, I only got to see him once since he came back, but when he was in the EPL before, I cannot explain to you how fucking good he was, how quick his release was. So you take those 2 guys out. Svek comes in 2.5 months late, plays 24 minutes, runs Mitchell King in the head, misses 10 games. So by the time you're like 25 games into the season, they've not played a game with Matty, Thamar, and Svek on the ice. It all comes around. Thamar comes in, Svek's bans, done. Matty plays 5 games and then retired, done. So how they go about it next year is going to be very interesting, because I think you touched on a couple of their younger guys when we were talking off air. They've got some good young kids coming into Hull.
Yeah.
But they haven't really been overly competitive this year. They've not been getting blown out by any stretch of the imagination. But what I mean is they're not a made in Sheffield. So you look at the Sheffield Steel Dogs, where they've got this breadth of local talent who very rarely go elsewhere. They stay there. They stay there. That allows you to then bring in your 1s, 2s, your 3 guys, your Jordan Buessa. It allows you to bring a guy like that in from Glasgow, help him travel and do whatever, because you have that core nucleus. If you don't, I don't know where Basingstoke bring the guys from, because obviously with no Bracknell either, I don't know. It's crazy that arguably the biggest clubs in Hampshire and Berkshire, sorry, Slough, Hampshire and Berkshire have gone wayside in the space of fucking 3 years. Two of my old clubs.
If I facility bring in new players, like, will the new facility pull better players to Basingstoke?
Yes, it is. So yeah, going back to that coaching thing, I've said, and I keep getting distracted, but I said during that, like, I wouldn't go in there and give up 4 of my nights a week to walk into that rink. But I did say to John at the time, I was like, mate, if this rink is brand new or is like, say, MK, and you've got your coach's office and you've got proper change rooms, not fucking porter cabins and all that sort of thing, that is something that I've dreamed of since I was like 16, first putting on the Bison colours as a player, that I would love to coach and do that. Yeah, so yeah, a new facility 100% attracts them. And a new facility, good sponsors. This is where transparency is going to be crucial. So if people, i.e. Planet Ice, are forthcoming throughout the build. So let's say it's due to start, I don't know, June 1st. And then they get an announcement in the back office and in Planet Ice HQ that says, look, now it can't start until July the 20th. So 6 weeks late.
Yeah.
Straight away, come out and let everybody know. Let everybody know why it's been delayed. Let people know not to panic, and this is the plan. And you can then build. And then let's say a month later, let's have proper updates and a vision and let everybody know exactly what's going on all the way through. So let's say come March time or February time, and the build's going very well, and we know that the Bison are going to be back in 23, 24, or 24, 25, sorry. They can attract sponsors now because they've got guarantee. Right, this is Planet Ice guaranteeing on this date at the very latest, barring no drastical fuck-ups, the rink is going to be reopened. This is how the rink's going to look. This is the plans. This is what it looks like. This is where we're going to have an area for sponsor entertaining. And John or whoever decides to move on with the Bison in 24, I don't know if it would be him or if it would be somebody else. From February, March time, from that announcement or like the communication, they can go back out to all the local businesses and say, look, this place is going to be packed all of September, all of October. These people haven't had hockey for 12 months, 15 months. Let's get your companies involved. Let's get you down to the rink. Let's get you to meet the players. Let's get you a fucking advertising board. Let's get you on the shirt. Yeah. And by the time September rolls around, if all goes well, you could have quite a tidy budget from sponsorships and stuff like that. And it's just going to make that 24 season, 25, like, okay, we're going to compete here and we're going to be able to bring in the players, because as well as the rink, it's going to come down to who would be the new owners. Would Planet Ice continue to run the team? Would they look for someone private? Would John still want to do it after a year away? I'm sure Planet Ice will have him doing something else, whether it be Bristol, whether it be running the build in Basingstoke, whether it be going black to Blackburn. I don't know what he's going to do personally, but maybe after a year he goes, do you know what? That was a fucking grind. This has been quite like getting my breath back, get out on the golf course a little bit more. And then they then have to look at new owners, who the new owner is going to be. Do they understand ice hockey? Do they understand running a business? Do they understand being involved with the junior club, with the Buffalo club? Right, I'm going to read through some of your comments because obviously they've been coming in thick and fast. So we've been chatting away now for quite a bit. I'm going to try and digest some of those. Casey Gallagher says, the chance for Solway moving up is slimmer now, in my opinion. For the 23-24 season, we will see an even 10-team league. I like the even league, but I am a huge advocate of Solway being in the National League. If that means 100%. We then have to suck it up and go with 11, I think they deserve their opportunity. This is unfortunate. Their opportunity should not be taken away due to the fact, and I mean, this is all hypothetical because obviously we've pushed it on here. Drop the Puck have pushed it a little bit. There has been talk, Banners on the Wall talked about it. All the kind of podcasts are talking about it, 3-on-3, 0 pucks given. All the guys, they're all talking about it. Well, speaking of one, Jamie Thompson, obviously everybody knows him from his successful time up with Solway. Where does this leave a 12-team extension? Okay, let's have a little hypothetical then. They will be sitting around I wouldn't be surprised if they're sitting around the board table right now, or it's scheduled for tomorrow, or there's a conference call with Steve and Ali and Tommy and all the guys. There's going to be discussions ongoing with the clubs. Let's say hypothetically they're having that conversation and they'd already committed to Solway being there before this news happened. Do they go out and look at another 12 team?
I don't think so.
Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun with. Yeah, there you go. Let's have some fun with it. Let's say they do.
Yeah.
Who would you go for?
Streatham. It's got to be.
They'll never go. It's too expensive to live in London. You got to think. Streatham have 20 guys on their roster, barring the juniors. They've got a line of kids playing. There's 2 guys that live in London. Ziggy lives there because I think he's at uni or work there, and one other lad. Everybody travels. If you think my brother travels from Basingstoke, Paints travels from Southampton, there's guys traveling from left, right, and centre. it's not as easy. Do you know what we were talking about, like having that core nucleus to be able to step up?
Yeah,
that's what Solway have. That
yeah, they all a lot of them live locally, don't they? Very local to the rink, I think.
And that long term, that's going to help them be able to be sustainable in that league. I don't know of any other clubs up and down the country that I can think of that would be ready to move into the national. Do you? Your club's been talked about a couple of times online by people. You're well supported up in that NIHL One North. There's 1,000 people coming in the doors sometimes there.
Yeah, pretty regularly.
Would you say, given an opportunity, would you say there's ever a likelihood of Blackburn like wanting to step?
Not right now. I'm going to say no. Just with the progression route that we have in place there. But
yeah, they're a building process, aren't they?
Yeah. There's always teams like in our league that are well supported, the likes of Billingham, Whitley. I mean, there's some big changes coming in Whitley, I believe. But it's a massive jump up. And like you said, there's housing because you're going to have to bring different players in. There's so many different factors. I mean, with the Stretton thing, I was just going on the strength of the squad, but there's a lot more other factors that you need to think of, and I just can't see anyone making that jump at the minute other than Solway.
Yeah, Solway's the only one that I can see. Just looking through some more of these comments here. Being a fan for 30 years, this has gotten to here. I only hope that the refurb does happen. That's from Justin Pritchard. Will Pearce says the slow decline of the rink has been very sad to watch. Lack of action has caused this. The problems with the rink have been known for over 10 years.
A long time, that.
Yeah.
To not act on it.
Yeah, it's been pretty tough. It's something that I was hoping that we weren't going to have to fucking talk about. I was hoping they were going to sort it out. Zach Taylor, he's a Buffalo player. This has really hurt the development of the junior club with no higher division team to progress to. Ice hockey is the heart of Basingstoke and has been ripped out by incompetence of Planet Ice and Council. So sad. Banners on the wall using his actual podcast handle. 2005 was my first game in Basingstoke. I walked into that rink on my own. 18 years later, this is like someone has speared me in the gut. It's for the right reasons, and the kids being able to keep going for now is massive, but my heart is heavy tonight. And I'm sure we're going to see Ant come out and do a podcast, or at the very least do like a WordPress and like an announcement and have his say. It's going to be tough for a lot of people, and like he says, it was inevitable. We knew that the rink was going to close at some stage. I just think, like we said earlier on in the epi, that it would have been nice to know before now.
Yeah, communication's key, and it's a failure of that again, which is something that happens a lot in our sport, unfortunately. Well,
it seems to be happening. Obviously, last night we got the NIHL 1 playoffs being changed. For some reason, it started as an open bracket and then it wasn't, and the top seed then playing the bottom seed as it should be. But that's upset a lot of people, and again, it just comes back down to that communication factor, doesn't it? If this should have been decided in September, and it should be communicated.
Season like that,
yeah. It's a really tough look. Rob Ronan says, would have been good for junior parents to get a heads up on this and not find out via Twitter. I know they say it won't impact the juniors, but it has to, surely. Yes, Rob, it is definitely going to impact the juniors, no matter what way you dress it up. I'm sure Stuart Tempest is going to have something to say. He was a big driving force to keep ice in Basingstoke. And a lot of these parents and a lot of these volunteers have put in a lot of time, a lot of effort to try and keep ice in Basingstoke. And it's really, really disappointing. Guys, if you have any more questions, we're going to kind of wrap it up here in a couple of minutes. So get them in real quick if you do.
There's a couple of them around alternative rinks. Could they not look at playing at an alternative rink?
I do not know the answer to that question, so I wouldn't speculate. Perhaps they did, and maybe there's no option, because I mentioned teams, say Solent and Bristol. Well, they both have a 1 team and a 2 team.
Where'd you fit a national team? Yeah.
Where'd you fit a national team? Potentially, if Bracknell was still open, you would go there. But now with Bracknell being shut and the fact that Bracknell now play out of Slough and you've got Slough and Bracknell, that rules that option out. Swindon, they have Swindon 1s and 2s there, plus God knows what else they've got on.
Rec hockey, that.
Yeah, like there's 2 senior teams at every Guildford Phoenix and Guildford Flames in Guildford. So there's 2 senior teams in every rink within an hour from Basingstoke. So it then becomes,
the options get narrower and narrower, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Well, guys and girls, thank you for tuning in. Please do subscribe to all our social medias and YouTube and that kind of stuff. I'm gutted it wasn't better news for you this evening. We feel for you, Bison fans and players. We hope you digest the news as well as possible. Let's make sure you pack that barn out on Saturday. As many of you in there against Leeds as you can. And yeah, I don't really know what to say, mate. It's gutting.
Yeah, it's sad. Very sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. But boys, all the best for the weekend. And yeah, fans, get down, maybe stick around, have an extra couple of pints in the bar after, because some of you guys probably not going to see each other for a very long time now. And yeah, the relationships, the things that you take for granted that maybe the players don't see on the ice, but I've seen a lot more since being, like a neutral, going to watch games and stuff. It's a sickener. But guys, girls, thank you for watching. Please like, share, do all your usual stuff to help us in the algorithms. For now, peace.